already cut events.
Right, cutting events, one of the things with recreation is that there's right now 100% reduction in the fees that we're receiving. But on the flip side of that, we're also not spending money that, with, for programs such as the Kids Spot or, our summer recreation assistants that we hire, the temporary assistants. For this current fiscal year, we're not going to fill any vacant positions, as I said. So, we're trying trying to cut the extras so that there's, we still meet the needs of the city, but we're not doing anything.
See, what I'm getting to is this, if instead of the deferral, it's a shortfall tax coming in, not from within the city of recreation, but the state,
Right.
federal. See, that's what I'm concerned about.
Oh, exactly. We all are.
See,
And we're not going to know until it actually happens
yeah.
or before more estimates come out.
But see, will not hiring new people cover that shortfall?
We believe so, yes. Yes, we're looking at, some retirements coming up. So, the possibility of not filling those positions, will hopefully defer that amount that we are not receiving in sales tax.
We
And
have
possibly
some
business license.
investment savings that we could pull out if we
Yes.
had to.
We do have money
To
in
meet
place,
payroll.
we have, which is the local area investment
Yeah.
fund, which is, run by the state of California. We actually invest, we
So we'll
send
take
them
it out.
money and
They
then
do.
they invest it and we get money back quarterly. And this quarter was about $17,000 this last quarter that we received in, late interest. And plus we have an investment in, multi-bank securities in Morgan Stanley that, we are receiving about $600 per month. And that's paid to us quarterly, and that goes back in the general fund also. Along with our interest that we receive from FAST. FAST Credit Union is, the bank that we bank with. So, the other funds, one of the other funds that we're looking at that may be affected on this COVID-19 is our street funds. We get highway user tax, and those revenues come from the state. It's a per gallon fuel tax rather than that and vehicle registrations. It's not based on what the fuel prices are. They charge a certain amount per gallon that is used. The allocations that we receive will be affected by the fixed state money that their takeouts before other distributions are made to cities and counties. So we may see a reduction in our street funds, which will delay street maintenance and overhaul. We're looking at an overhaul for Avenal cutoff, but that's going to be a very, very costly.
Was there a recent announcement as far as that, tax money?
I'm
The HUDA or?
Yes, Huda? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was there a recent announcement of the reduction of money that cities are going to?
It was down a little bit, but it fluctuates every month, and especially between categories. There's 4 categories that we receive highway user tax, and it goes up and down each month.
Because he, on the news, I believe I heard that the governor had already reduced that by 20%.
I had not heard that.
So, that's something to look into. Or consider.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, that's something to look for. Let's see. Our impact fees, If you're looking, Alex, at it, it looks like we have negative revenues, and that is because we did a transfer for the community center of our revenues. It's considered a transfer out, which is a revenue. So, but as you can see, there's still $224,000 still in our, almost $225,000 in the fund. So it's still good. Our community improvement fund, we have not, that was money that we got from our return of the, it's called 87-1 assessment, and that was where each residence was charged for the sidewalks and curbing in the city, and we still have a little bit of that left. Avenal Forfeiture Litigation Fund and the Avenal Police Department Activity League Fund and the Explorers Fund, as well as the Evidence Holding Fund, all of those are police department funds. Up until this last quarter, we did not have anything in the Evidence Holding Fund, and that was for money that was taken upon arrest, and we hold that until either someone claims it, or I believe we send it to the state after a certain period of time. So the Police Activity League, you might have also heard of it as PAL, and that's for the boxing and the basketball children's events. So they're kind of a little stagnant at the moment with COVID-19 and the shelter in place. Our streetlights funds, we are over the next few months. Later in our meeting today, we'll be introducing changes to our ordinance to comply with the State Bill 998 and Government Code 116900 Water Shutoff Protection Act, which will extend the amount of time a customer has before their water is shut off. So it went from about 15 days to 60 days. So hopefully we don't see a loss in revenue, we just see a delay in the receipt of that revenue. So, but at this time, we don't know how that's going to affect us also. So, let's see, as we talked about street funds. Currently, there are some projects in the works that will be using some of these funds. San Joaquin Street between, is it 4th and 33?
Third and 33.
33. So they'll be getting, hopefully that will be starting in the near future. In the warm weather. I think we've arrived. So, Nell, did you want to make any comments?
I apologize. I'm not sure, I'm assuming you covered everything that needed to be covered
Yes.
so far.
Mm-hmm.
We are putting together I've told council, we're really not completely sure exactly how we're gonna end up at the end of the year. However, with the information Don has provided, and with some, a little bit of adjusting, I think we'll do okay, even without the remainder of the sales tax. We haven't really been hit on anything else. Property tax came in, there were a few that, probably are a little delinquent. But going in, it's going to take us a good year to see and understand the softball moves too well. And my direction is, to staff is that one way is if we have a position that's vacated, unless it's absolutely necessary, we will not fill. Regardless of whether someone is a general fund department or let's say someone is, somewhat in public works and, I don't know, code enforcement, it's all going to go, boil down to, it's going to affect the general fund. It just does, the way that this is set up. But we'll tighten our belts and we'll make it through to hopefully keep basically the city and staff and all intact. We don't know what this year's going to bring. I know there's a big push with the California cities and not so much counties are doing it too, but the cities to let the governor know that we need some of the stimulus money that he has received. Oh, okay, sorry. I was on a National League call yesterday with Washington DC, and Governor Abbott from Texas, he set kind of a good example in that the funds that were sent to Texas have already been distributed to some of the large cities and some of the small cities too. So it's nice to know that it sounds like that state is trying to do the right thing. We're not asking for anything other than to hopefully be made whole. Our water fund is, have you gone over that with them? And I apologize. Where we are with the water fund, thank goodness the water fund is doing okay right now. But we're being hit by the state of California. For the San Luis project, we're having to pay more in maintenance for the canal. We have 2 areas we have to deal with in the canal. And their their maintenance costs went up twofold, which really took us by surprise.
It was actually the San Luis
Reservoir, yes. But they're the ones that actually maintain, they work with the Bureau of Reclamation, but San Luis is the state. So we have to pay fees on both sides. He did, Ron, I spoke to him today, and he's accounting for that. He's trying to keep his numbers within that of this current year, but his costs are going up as well. So he did some rearranging, and he said, no, my costs are just gonna go up, so that's $90,000 extra that we definitely were not anticipating. But again, I think we'll be okay. We just have to be very select in what we fund. Council or the staff know very well that general fund has been a challenge this whole year and actually part of last year. And that we'll get what we need, but we don't always get what we want. And this staff has been really, really good about that. So that's about all I have to say. I just appreciate the numbers that, and working with Dawn over the past couple of days to get the information that we needed. And did you go over the areas where we're seeing numbers in the red as to
No,
why?
I haven't gotten that.
Okay.
To
All right,
the
well,
start at
I'm
page
going to give
3.
it to you, and I'll
I
just
like
sit
the
quietly
blue
over here.
numbers. Blue numbers make me happy. We are actually on
Page 3.
page 3 for the debt funds. The debt funds that we have, the first one you'll see is the PFA, which is the Public Financing Authority. This is our bond, and it is paid partially by the water fund, and the other part of it is the RDA portion. Their portion will be paid in full by 2026. The rest will go on to 2036, I think, is the end date. That fund is basically what comes in goes out, because it's just transfers between the funds. Our RDA, we're in the process of winding down. So you see revenues that come in, that's property tax that goes to pay our bond fees, and it still has a little bit of an administrative portion of that it pays. Pays our agent fees, our disclosure fees, and then part of payroll. So the next thing you'll see is our CIP program income. This is our grants. We have, the first one is our operating authority. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sticking up for Alex right at the moment. Tell him what CIP stands for.
I was gonna get to that.
Okay.
That is,
Capital improvement?
thank you. That was like, it's known as two different things in accounting. One is capital improvements and the other one is construction in progress.
If I may, just for explanation, Alex, in a year, in a good year, there may be a project, or maybe one of the departments need a new vehicle, a dump truck or something, and they know they can't handle it in 1 year. They'll put money aside, it's called the 700 account at the end of the budgets, and they will save over the next 3 years or whatever, and it goes into basically a bank. It goes into their, like your savings account, and it's by department or by fund. And at the end of 3 years, if it was $25,000 for 3 years, it'd be $75,000, but it would take council approval to withdraw those funds to purchase whatever it is they wanted to purchase. So that's what it is. Does that help?
Okay, let's see. As I said, the City of Avenal Operating Authority, that is our joint powers authority with the hospital district. And a portion of Melissa's, Angie's, and myself, our payroll is paid by the district. And so this fund, the revenues coming in is the money that the hospital district repays us for our expenses, as well as the rent that we receive from the ambulance company. Yes, ma'am.
Just a side note, please.
Yes.
For probably both of you, Pablo, this is your second year on budget, right? Correct? Okay. The hospital district, there was and you may have known Wanda Brown. Ken Brown was on the board of the hospital district for years. When Ken passed away, Wanda took over operations. She wanted to retire. She was in her 80s, and she wasn't quite sure how to do it because the hospital district has downsized so much. They don't offer services, any type of hospital services at all, but the district itself is still intact. It still must be a presence. Okay. They were down board members as well for the hospital district. It's hard to get people to run for that office. So Wanda approached the city and wanted to know if the city might be interested in taking over the operations of the hospital district, that being the building, which our PD has a lease with them. And so we basically took it over with council's approval of the hospital district. And by action taken, I'm the administrator of a little bitty district. She is the treasurer, and Angie is the secretary. And there are only 2 members. If somebody else basically wants to buy into this authority, they can, and they then would be eligible for a membership. So at that time, there might be 3, but right now there's hospital district, City of Avenal, and they have to meet at least once a year. But the hospital district is still intact, it's active, and that hopefully that explains what that's all about. That was a little bit of a trial to get that up and going.
And they receive property tax
Very small.
monies also. It's also run in order to provide hospital records in case they are subpoenaed or requested by patients. There is also, it's still receiving about $10 a month in past revenue that's been due to their accounts receivable. So it makes minimal in that regard, but it does still receive the property tax. So it keeps the district intact.
Plus, they're still the owner of the 5-acre property, which includes the hospital facility, so to speak. We just have taken over the east wing, the patient rooms.
And almost the west wing.
So close. Very close.
So it shows a negative balance, and that's because the hospital district reimburses the city for payroll and makes it basically a whole again. Our capital improvement funds, that's what we were just speaking about. That is our fund for capital improvements, the savings account to be used. The next page and a half, actually the next 2.5 pages are all of our grant funds. You'll see program income. There's 3 program income funds. There's one for, it says just program income, but it's our CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grants.
It's housing-related grants, however, and I sent a bunch of information to you. I don't know if you received it. I worked on it as long as I could. It's, okay. See, the Calhoun home and a certain part of CDBG is for housing-related home programs. CDBG is specifically, you could potentially purchase a newer home, but it's also for rehab, to rehab homes that are there. And the loans are by deferred loan, okay? So the only time we would see any of those funds, and I think I provided a bit of an explanation, we would receive those funds if someone decided to pay the home off, or let's say a loved one passed away and the home is in their name. Then before the house could sell, that loan, because it's recorded, that loan would have to be paid. That becomes a pool of program income, and it is, there are guidelines, but it can be used for certain things within the guidelines. So that's where it is. It's from these programs, and they come into one pool of money, and then you go. But they're mostly housing-related grants.
Yeah, so the program income, those are in the blue. The other funds, some are in the blue, some are in the red, and that's just because of the type of grant that it is. A lot of our grants require that you spend the money first, and then they turn around and reimburse us. So the ones that are in the red, that is exactly what type of fund that they are. Our wonderful grant fund, we've received funds over the past several years, past 4 years, and that's gone to provide, yes, the tech center, the fitness court, and other, I can't even think of what else, Fernando.
Those are the two that I can think of.
Yeah.
Tech center,
Classes.
Right.
Right, the tech center, right, that's what.
Yes. Right. So those are funds that they've been using, and Tony, is part of that being used for the community center as well?
No, there's not. We submitted a grant for that, and it was not approved.
That was part of the yearly
Yes, we
grant
had,
request.
so that's why they said we got the fitness court.
Right, and some of the funds that you'll see, we have our water transmission fund. The home, do you know what home stands for?
Housing, no, I don't. Home, okay, find out really quickly.
There's the federal version of it, and then there's the California version of the home grants. And those are actually come through the state, and the state gives us the money. So there's also the HRPP, which is the housing-related parks.
Grant. And it's
grant.
based on the number of units that were built or developed in the previous year.
Right.
Previous years.
I believe Fernando wants to interject. He's asking that I take him off the mute.
He's got his hand up.
I don't know if that's supposed to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is it?
He would be sitting here if
Yeah,
he's
I
here.
know. He'd be right here.
I got, I'll let him know when you speak if he gets to fix it. Can you unmute him? I think his phone number. This one? Oh, gosh. Is there 633?
Yes, he's a 633.
But turn on the audio, I heard it right now. Go Fernando.
It's a first-time home buyers program.
Is your audio not muted?
And I don't know if
How about
it's
the
that I
top?
can afford.
Yeah. I heard it on my laptop.
That's all I miss is, and that's how it's basically advertised, home program, first-time home buyers.
Fernando can give an explanation about if we can get him on. He's not one of the iPad ones.
Let's go ahead and proceed, and then
Okay.
if it comes on and.
Let's see, some of the other grants, we have our water transmission line grant, which is a planning grant to replace the water, part of the water transmission line. The one that says CWSRF, that's the California, it should be actually CSWRF.
It's Prop 1, it's Prop 1 funds, there's clean water and water quality. One is for water, and one is for wastewater. This is for the wastewater portion. And the planning is, I believe, completed, and the engineer's working on it, and Mr. Enrique. We'll be making a submission, and hopefully if there are funds available at the state to replace our sewer lines in town and some upgrades that we need. If we have some of the old lines are the originals from the 20s and 30s, or the late 20s and 30s, so there are some areas that need to be replaced. Also through a revolving fund, but it's basically the same, how do I say it? We also receive grants for a solar project that will basically provide enough energy to run our wastewater treatment plant, which will really be nice, and that has been awarded. Hopefully construction will start pretty soon, so we'll see a nice savings there. But those are from those grants. They're revolving fund loans to the state.
And then we have two other grants. We have a PetSmart grant fund, which is actually wound down. It provided the animal shelter with an animal shelter technician. And then we have the tree partnership grant, where we partnered with the Historical Society to plant how many trees?
215 trees.
Two
At some
hun-
point I will do a presentation.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Fernando.
There we go.
Face, we don't see your face.
You know what? I'm just on the phone right now. I'm setting up my laptop.
That's okay, we're just giving you back.
But I wanted to make sure that you knew I was on the phone. So if there's any questions about the grants, I heard some questions about the home program. So happy to answer any of those. Alrighty.
Do you have the official time?
We good?
5:10, okay, so good timing, good timing.
7, 8, 9, and Mr. Farley is like 2. He will, but that would be 10 to. Who has the lapel mics? Lapel,
There's two.
just 2?
Well, no, he has them too.
Okay.
I'll just interject real quick. So last meeting, I think everything video-wise was fine, just we had some audio issues, so when you get to the main portion of the meeting, please speak
The mic.
into the mic, like right on it. Yeah, because we're already muffled with the mask, and these microphones only pick up like direct sound, so this is acting like a filter already. So for you guys to have the mic to speak right into it, like you were singing, you guys should be fine. Should be right here at the chest, and just speak at a normal level, and it should pick up just right.
Did you explain to us more about just
Yes.
up here? Okay, very good.
They're
Thank you.
not on yet though,
Okay,
from what I can see.
okay.
Eyeballs are fogging up.
So I was almost on time until I couldn't find my keys. And I had gone into Angie's office to pick up some pink paper to make copies. Well, Yolanda, thank goodness, she goes, Nell, are these the keys that were in your door? Gosh, I dumped my purse out, my little satchel, and oh my gosh.
I've started leaving my office keys in my door, in the
Angie
locks.
does that too. I do it once in a while, but it would probably throw me for a loop, so I just,
So I don't leave them on my desk, bury them.
I was gonna call you, see, can you forgive me when you're done? Please. Oh my
Well, I had to
gosh.
do a twofer. I had to call Angie to get into my office. I had to call Fernando to get into the building when I left my keys on my
Oh, yeah.
desk,
Oh.
so.
Oh my goodness. Is Mr. Farley's nameplate here? Angie?
Here he is, right here,
And his chair?
but he doesn't have a place.
I guess we can scoot.
I would think we could scoot down, because there's a lot bigger space there. Or, once you sit that way.
Or you can sit up there. There we go.
Tony's probably tall enough, he could just stick his arms out.
Hello.
Let me move all of my important papers.
The announcement for the action of last week during closed session, when will it be done? Before we go into closed session again? Okay, very good. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
You need Dawn's mic. That'll be a first.
Okay, I see 5:15 on the monitor. Are we good? Okay, so we're going to call this meeting to order. And If you'll stand with me, please, so that we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So welcome everyone who has joined us to our City Council meeting. Who, besides Fernando, who else is on the phone? Is there someone else?
I see Aaron LeBlue,
Yeah, there's a few
Sheila Verdugo.
On phones, on the phone?
Yes.
Via phone?
there's only one.
Okay,
Joseph is getting on right now.
okay, very
Okay.
good.
I'm going to do roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Hernandez,
Here.
Councilman Ramirez,
Here.
Mayor Ovalle,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Willie,
Aye.
Councilman Preciado.
Okay, we're all present. Okay, if you'll read that paragraph, please.
Government Code Section 54952.3, the members of the City Council successor agency are entitled to receive a total of $300 per month because of being elected to the City Council. They receive no other compensation for sitting as a member of the successor agency.
Thank you. Okay, and before going to closed session, I'd like to make the announcement that during the closed session of 4/30/2020, there was action taken that Resolution 2020-22 was approved. Was an MOU between the Avenal State Prison, the Wheatland Incorporated, and the city. That was the only action taken last meeting during closed session. So at this time, we will be going into closed session. So everyone who's online will be muted, and we'll rejoin you after the meeting of this.